Gregory Anthony Isaacs was born on July 15, 1951, in Kingston, Jamaica. In the narrow streets and crowded yards of Denham Town, music was everywhere. The island's pulse, its rhythm, its heartbeats, they came from radios, street corners, and the lips of children dreaming of a better life. Gregory was one of those children. From an early age, he was drawn to music, humming melodies before he even understood their meaning. Jamaica was changing fast. The sound of ska and rocksteady filled the air. Young singers were emerging every week, hoping for a break. Gregory wasn't content just to listen. He wanted to be heard. In his teens, he began entering local talent contests, the kind held in small halls and open yards, where the air was thick with cigarette smoke and raw ambition. His soft-spoken demeanor hid a voice that could move a crowd. It wasn't loud or showy. It was gentle, aching, and full of soul. A voice that carried sadness, sweetness, and longing all at once. By the late 1960s, he had joined his first vocal group, the Concords, alongside Winston Sinclair and Rupie Edwards. They recorded a few songs together, but success was elusive. The group disbanded not long after, leaving Gregory to pursue a solo path. He was just beginning to find his sound, something more personal, more vulnerable, something that would later earn him the nickname the Cool Ruler. In 1968, he recorded his first single, Another Heartache. It didn't make much of an impact, but he wasn't discouraged. The Jamaican music scene was fierce, filled with hundreds of talented voices, all vying for a chance to be noticed by producers like Coxsone Dodd or Duke Reid. Gregory kept pushing, writing songs, refining his delivery. He wasn't a rebel in the traditional sense. He didn't shout, he didn't boast. He sang softly, but his words cut deep. He sang of love, loss, loneliness, the universal struggles that crossed class and culture. By the early 1970s, he began releasing singles on various small labels, slowly building a reputation among reggae insiders. Then came My Only Lover, a track that would mark his first real breakthrough. The song, recorded in 1973, was tender, emotional, and pure Gregory Isaacs. It spoke directly to the heart, and it became one of the first true lovers' rock songs, a style that combined reggae rhythms with themes of romance and devotion. Around this time, Gregory began producing his own music. He founded his own label, African Museum, with singer Errol Dunkley. This move gave him creative control, a rare thing for Jamaican artists at the time. He could now record what he wanted, how he wanted, and he took full advantage. Throughout the 1970s, Gregory Isaacs became one of the most beloved voices in reggae. Songs like Love Is Overdue, Mr. Cop, and All I Have Is Love showed the full range of his artistry. He wasn't just a singer of love songs. He also sang about social struggles, the harsh realities of ghetto life, and the yearning for peace in a violent world. His music was intimate, but it spoke for millions. He had a gift. He could make pain sound beautiful. But behind the success, Gregory was fighting his own battles. Fame brought money, attention, and temptation. The reggae industry in Jamaica was rough, often unregulated, and full of hustlers. Gregory developed a reputation for being charming, but unpredictable. He lived fast and he lived free. By the late 1970s, his name had crossed borders. In Britain, reggae fans were discovering the new wave of Jamaican singers, and Gregory Isaacs stood out among them. His elegance, his quiet confidence, and that silky voice made him a star in the UK's growing reggae scene. In 1978, he released Cool Ruler, the album that would define his persona. With tracks like Native Woman and John Public, he blended lovers' rock with roots reggae, creating a sound that was smooth but deeply conscious. The Cool Ruler wasn't just a nickname, it was a statement of who he was. Gregory Isaacs didn't have to demand attention. He simply stepped into a room and it came to him. But the next few years would bring both triumph and tragedy. In 1982, he released Night Nurse, his most famous album, on Island Records. The title track became a classic, seductive, haunting, unforgettable. It introduced him to a global audience and remains one of reggae's most iconic songs. For many, Night Nurse defined the essence of Gregory Isaacs, suave, soulful, and endlessly cool. But as the spotlight grew brighter, so did the shadows. Success took a toll. Gregory began struggling with drug addiction, a battle that would follow him for decades. Cocaine became his escape, his comfort, and eventually his curse. His once smooth performances sometimes turned erratic. He missed shows, clashed with promoters, and ran into trouble with the law. In Jamaica, his fame was legendary, but so were his run-ins with the authorities. He served several short stints in jail during the 1980s, often for possession charges or minor offenses. Even so, he never stopped recording. His productivity was staggering. Hundreds of singles, dozens of albums, sometimes multiple releases in a single year. Despite the chaos, the music kept coming. Songs like Private Secretary, Border, and Red Rose for Gregory kept his name alive and his fans loyal. He was a survivor, a man who could fall down, pick up the microphone, and make magic again. But time has a way of catching up. By the 1990s, reggae was changing. Dancehall had taken over the Jamaican charts. Gregory's brand of romantic reggae was no longer the dominant sound, but his influence was undeniable. Younger artists like Beres Hammond and Sanchez carried his legacy forward. Gregory remained respected, the elder statesman of lovers rock. He continued touring around the world, performing in Europe, the US, and Africa. Fans adored him, even when his voice grew raspier, his frame thinner. He was still the cool ruler, but behind the sunglasses and smooth suits, there was pain. The years of substance abuse had taken their toll. His health began to decline. Friends noticed he looked tired, sometimes frail, but Gregory never wanted pity. He believed in keeping his struggles private, preferring to let the music speak for him. By the 2000s, the once vibrant star was fighting a silent battle. He tried to clean up more than once. He entered rehab. He spoke publicly about the dangers of drugs, warning younger artists not to follow his path. But addiction is relentless. It haunted him, shadowed him, and slowly consumed his strength. Still he worked. He recorded new albums like Brand New Me and Father and Son, the latter featuring his son, Kevin Isaacs. Performing gave him purpose, even as his body weakened. He would step on stage, smile at the crowd, and sing as though time had stopped. But time had not stopped. It was running out. In 2010, Gregory Isaacs was diagnosed with lung cancer. He was 60 years old. The news was devastating, but he faced it with quiet dignity. Those close to him say he didn't complain. He accepted it with the same calmness that defined his life. He continued to perform as long as he could, even while undergoing treatment. In his final months, his body was frail, but his spirit remained strong. Friends and family remember how he tried to stay positive, often humming tunes and joking softly, even as the illness progressed. In July 2010, he made one of his last public appearances at the One Love Peace Festival in London. His performance was subdued, but heartfelt. The audience could sense something was different. The cool ruler looked tired, but he still had that spark in his eyes. In the following months, his condition worsened. He spent his final days at his home in Harrow, North London, surrounded by loved ones. His wife, Linda, and his children were there, comforting him as his health declined. The once powerful voice that had touched millions grew faint. On October 25, 2010, Gregory Isaacs passed away. He was 60 years old. The news spread across the world. Jamaica mourned. Radio stations played Night Nurse on repeat. Fans lit candles. Musicians paid tribute. A legend was gone, but his music, that gentle, soulful sound, remained. At his funeral in Kingston, thousands gathered to say goodbye. His body lay in state, dressed impeccably in a cream suit. Even in death, he looked regal, composed, and unmistakably himself. Fellow artists like Bunny Wailer and Freddie McGregor paid their respects, remembering not just the singer but the man, humble, kind, mischievous, and full of life. His coffin was draped in the Jamaican flag, carried through the streets where he once sang as a young dreamer. The crowd followed, singing his songs, crying, celebrating the cool ruler who had given them so much. Gregory Isaacs left behind more than 500 albums, countless singles, and a legacy that stretched across generations. His voice became the blueprint for modern reggae crooners, his style immortalized in the smooth grooves of lovers rock. But beyond the records, beyond the fame, Gregory's story is one of humanity, a man blessed with extraordinary talent but haunted by demons. He loved deeply, sang beautifully, and suffered quietly. His songs were confessions, love letters, and prayers all at once. What many didn't know was how much he wanted to be remembered, not just for Night Nurse, but for the message behind it all: love, tenderness, and resilience. In interviews, he often spoke softly about wanting peace, about wanting people to feel good when they listened to his music. Even as illness took hold, he kept his humor. Those who visited him near the end said he would smile and whisper, "Me still de ya," meaning, "I'm still here." It was his way of saying that though his body was fading, his spirit remained. After his death, tributes poured in from around the world. From Jamaica to London, from reggae veterans to new artists, everyone recognized the void his passing left behind. The cool ruler had become more than a musician. He was an icon of emotion, a symbol of love and loss in reggae music. Years later, his legacy continues to grow. His songs remain timeless, played at weddings, parties, and quiet nights when someone just needs to feel something true. His influence can be heard in artists across genres, in reggae, R&B, and even pop. Gregory Isaacs was and still is a reminder that vulnerability can be strength, that softness can be power, that love, even when imperfect, is worth singing about. His final years were marked by pain, but also by grace. He reconciled with many people he had drifted from. He spent more time with family. He smiled more. It was as if he knew his time was short and wanted to leave on his own terms. The heartbreaking truth about Gregory Isaacs' death isn't just that he died too soon, but that he fought so long to stay. For his fans, for his music, for himself. He faced his mortality with courage, and when the end came, it was peaceful. The cool ruler slipped away quietly, just as he had lived, smooth, gentle, and full of soul. And though the world lost his presence that day, his voice remains eternal. Each note of Night Nurse, each sigh of Love is Overdue, each whisper of All I Have is Love keeps him alive, not just as a singer, but as a man who gave everything to his art. Gregory Isaacs didn't just sing love songs, he was one. His story reminds us that even the coolest rulers have fragile hearts, that even the strongest voices sometimes fade, but the music lives forever. And in that music, Gregory Isaacs still lives, the voice of romance, the soul of reggae, the cool ruler who ruled with love.